It all goes back to Ed O'Neill. Ed O'Neill, 78 years old. Gosh, he was just classic in what was a show, Married with Children. He's made a lot of TV shows since then. So Ed O'Neill, he's 78 years old. He has a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I was listening to him a couple weeks ago on Mark Maron's podcast. And I don't know how their conversation got to this, but it's been on my mind. He was talking about tendon strength. I've been obsessed with strength all my life. It's a long story. That's a 5-hour video. I'm not gonna go into the psychoanalysis of my obsession with strength. But Ed O'Neill was talking about there's this brief window when you're young, and science supports this, that when you develop your tendon strength in your adolescence, it makes you almost like Superman. And he grew up in Ohio in a working class neighborhood, and the young men who did they worked in the coal mines, they worked as farmhands, cowboys, they did manual labor. They developed a toughness that you just can't get later on in life. And he used as an example the great boxer Jack Dempsey. Jack Dempsey, according to legend, or I don't even, probably it's factual, I believe it, he was comparatively speaking, he was superhuman in his strength. I believe he even trained with the barrel lids on pickle barrels. I think he would put them on his hands and go into the ocean and box against the waves. That's how strong he was. Apparently, his punches were from a different planet. And I believe that. You know, when I grew up in Northern California, and below our hill, we lived up on a hill, there were a lot of ranches, Palomares Canyon. And I went to school with cowboys, ranch hands. In fact, there are two I remember, Jay Bezio and Chuck Reno, in elementary school. These are the strongest, toughest kids in the school. No one bullied them ever. In fact, Jay Bezio was not only a great cowboy, he was a great baseball player, football player, everything. He was just a great athlete. I'm still in touch with him. And so we were pretty tough back then. You know, growing up in the 60s and 70s, we weren't in our houses all day on our smartphones, you know, looking at that endless scroll of fever dreams, just sitting in our rooms all day. We were gone all day. We were on our bikes. We were climbing barbed wire fences. We were getting chased by cows, bulls, German shepherds. We were getting shot at by farmers with their pellet guns. We were swinging on vines over ravines. We were crazy, and we were tough, and our parents didn't know where we were for 14 hours in the day. I don't even know what we ate or where we ate. I don't know. And yet I can't be the old guy on the front lawn, you know, the old boomers. My daughters, they stopped calling me that, but they were calling me that a year ago. It was annoying. But I can't be the old boomer on the front lawn, you know, screaming about this world is going to hell in a handbasket. I can't do it. And I had a good moment of clarity about this whole subject of the older generation barking at the younger generation, saying that they're weak and they're soft. What happened was this. My family, we were on a plane from LAX to Cabo, Mexico, 8 days ago. And I forgot to download my podcasts. I was not happy because I like to disappear into my podcasts on long flights. But I got to hear a 2-hour conversation. My wife was sitting next to me, and in the window seat was another woman. She was a mom. And the mom was talking about her son, Cody, who was in the Marines recently. And she wanted to give emotional support and feel the connection of her son's struggle to make it in the Marines. And she knew there was this very difficult phase in the Marines called the crucible. The crucible. There may be sleep deprivation. There may be all kinds of toughness. And to feel connected to her son as he went through the crucible, she told us, she wore like a 60-pound backpack and walked on a treadmill at 2 a.m. at Planet Fitness. She lived in Claremont, California. Lives there. So she talks to her son Cody about the Crucible. He goes, "Mom, it wasn't as hard as I thought." And she told my wife, "I was very disappointed. I wanted my son Cody to tell me it was the toughest thing he ever did." And I go, "Why do you think it was, it wasn't as tough as you thought?" She goes, "Because today's generation's soft, and the military is pampering the new generation, and they're making the military soft, and I don't want the military to be soft." And I started thinking, that's not good. I mean, I don't want weak, soft military personnel. Who does, The world's a crazy, tough, ruthless place. So I texted my buddy Jimmy about this question. I texted him. I was in Cabo. I was haunted by this question. I texted him. And I asked him, you were a Marine in 2005, 2010. And you're one of the toughest dudes I know. You have a black belt in several martial arts. You're 6'5". You weigh 250 pounds. Are the Marines getting soft? And this is what he texted me back. He said this. It's generational, bro. This is his text. You got to understand, the Vietnam Marines thought the Gulf War Marines were soft. The Gulf War Marines thought the late 90s and early 2000 Marines were soft, and so on and so forth. So there's this tendency for the earlier generation to always think the subsequent generation is softer and softer and softer. But Jimmy's too smart for that, and that's why I texted him. He said this: "Everything you got to understand, McMahon, as technology takes over, there's less a need for extremely hard, tough men. At some point in time, this will reverse itself. You've heard the old saying, hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times." So I looked this up, and it turns out this is from a post-apocalyptic novel about a Marine living in the future. Of course, my buddy Jimmy's a Marine. It's a novel by G. Michael Hopf, and the quote suggests this: that harsh conditions can lead to morally pure and militarily strong people. And this idea is known as the Fremen Mirage, based on the desert dwellers in the science fiction novel Dune. And so Jimmy was trying to tell me that generations, they don't evolve in this linear fashion. There's a cycle, weakness to toughness. And as you get soft, the competing nations, they go, they're weak and they're soft. We'll move in. And then when you lose and you get, you have to fight, you claw your way back, then you get tough again. So I can never be the old man on the front lawn saying, "You guys are weaker and weaker." The current generation of military people, they're not even needing physical toughness, tendon strength to be effective. They're probably using drones, and they're probably in a cave, using computers, doing drones. It's just different now. So the technology, it evolves in a linear fashion, and so, but within that evolution, there's small circles, small cycles of evolution. Each generation has its own unique set of challenges. I can't be the old guy on the lawn screaming at the new generation, telling them how weak they are. They have their own challenges. They're in their own cycle. And I have to thank Jimmy for setting me clear on that matter. God, it reminds me of losing weight and gaining weight again. You lose your weight, you get complacent, you get soft, and then you have this or your watch collection gets overly bloated, and you have this vision of who you need to be as a grounded, sane human being, and you sell off all the watches you don't wear, and you lose all the weight you don't need that's holding you back. Cycles, man. It's crazy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, tell me what you think. Until next time, I'm out.